What's up, guys? This is Adrian,
And I'm Steve.
and we are coming to you live from the Tyde Industrial Technology Solutions studio, the brand new facility,
Located deep inside the Marianas Trench.
right off of Little St. James Island. So, yeah, this is season 3, episode 1. So we are back, guys.
Yeah, just unfortunately, we had been on break, but I've been having some big time computer issues, and my new job has been really, really hard. Very long days, but very taxing. But I mean, it's good. It's like a good tired, but still tired nonetheless. So,
Right.
um,
So
so
yeah,
here we are.
yeah, and
We're
a
back.
ton of stuff has happened while we've been off season. Oakland and both Denver have decriminalized a lot of things, mainly mushrooms
Yes.
in Denver, and Oakland pretty much decriminalized everything, like every psychedelic under the sun. So that's interesting. Hopefully that leads to more more of that across the nation.
So when does that actually come into effect in Denver?
Oh, it's already in effect right now.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's
So
it's it's
are you?
not it's not quite at the level of marijuana where there are shops that you can go out and buy it. Essentially, just right now they're not going to arrest you for having it. So pretty much it's just you can grow it, I guess, and they won't
Okay.
arrest you for it.
Yeah. Well, I know Oakland's decriminalized, but I don't know. California is pretty progressive, so we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah. Hopefully it's just the beginning.
Yeah. So, in the meantime, since our sabbatical, if you will, a lot of things has happened, as Adrian has made mention to. One of which is the internet takeover of a certain top secret military facility located deep within the heart of the Nevada desert.
Yes. Area 51, the famed Area 51. Been pretty much in
What's
the zeitgeist since Independence Day.
so? I want to give like a brief synopsis of how this whole thing came to be. Apparently, there's this guy on the internet who thought it'd be funny to create a post to see how many people he can generate to possibly show up to this thing. Now, actually, true story. What's funny is God, years and years and years ago, I'd say probably over 10 years ago, um, my ex at the time, we would actually have conversations about doing exactly this, where just get like a million people to just rush Area 51. So we've actually been had this idea probably over 10 years ago. In fact, that now that the internet has become what it's become, just this meme, this meme generator. Um, it's funny now to see that here's this idea that I had over 10, or I didn't have personally, but my ex had at the time over 10 years ago. Now is actually a thing. Now, how many people actually show up for this thing? I don't know. Logistically, it's going to be shitty traffic. If a million people were to drive out right now, it would take days to get out there because it's 2 lane highways. Like there's one lane going one north, one lane going south, and if you get a million people in cars all driving out there, traffic's going to be miserable. So guys, if you decide to do this, leave a couple days prior, give yourself some time to drive. Um, you figure the population of Las Vegas is 800,000 people. More than double that are planning to are saying that they will show up to the desert. Now, I'm not saying that many people will show up, but if you're to put things in perspective, if you take of all these millions of people, and it's only going to get more and more the closer we get to today. Let's say you get like 1% of that. So let's say like maybe 10,000 people, 20,000 people. Okay, so my girlfriend, she worked at Disneyland, and if you're to take both parks day, including like to the point where they're turning people away at the doors. It's almost 100,000 people, and that's at a crowded theme park.
Right.
Imagine if that many people. Imagine if just that many people showed up. That's overwhelming. How many people? Just 1% of these millions of people who say that are going to show up. If just 1% show up, that's just mind blowing as it is.
For sure.
So the memes are hilarious. I love them. But the more I read, then something came out of this about clapping some alien cheeks. And Adrian, I have been laughing nonstop over the thought of rescuing these aliens only to have these aliens be bent over their genderless alien hole and just have them clap some cheeks. It's
just
like,
really,
thank you, you saved me. It's like, oh.
just really putting it to him.
Time for some salvation.
Yeah.
So,
welcome to Earth.
Now, apparently, if we do the Naruto run, which where I work, I do see kids do the Naruto run, and it is the dumbest thing I think a human being could do aside from swallowing a Tide pod, which we may or may not encourage. It is the dumbest thing, but God damn it, Adrian, I think it might work. Here are these seasoned, like, hunters from like the Vietnam jungle, like, in charge of watching this military facility. Can you imagine just the what's going on in their minds as a bunch of millennials are running at them like a reverse Superman? Like almost as dumb as Freakazoid, but Freakazoid was hilarious. These kids, like the Naruto run is just stupid. But damn it, I think it's so random, I think it could work.
Right, and it's the bullets will be ineffective against it. It's just they can't hit them. They can't hit them.
Right. So here's another. Just I'm just spitballing the practicalities of this because I have been to Area 51. I haven't been through down Groom Lake Road, which is what most people are familiar with. That's when you're coming out of the mountain range. You just see this long, lonely dirt road. It's kind of eerie to see it because here you are winding because you're in the high desert. You're winding down the mountain off the extraterrestrial highway before you hit the main strip that goes to Rachel. There's a point where you make this wide turn. I think it's like a long right turn, and eventually it opens up to the valley, and you just see this lonely dirt road just going up in the distance, and that's Groom Lake Road. And that's where you drive up and you have the sign, and then you have the camo dudes parked in their white truck just kind of up on a hill. And
no
what
warning
shots.
shots.
Don't know is that closer towards Rachel. Now, Rachel's about 25 miles from the point where you come out of the mountain. And it's literally just like a straight 25-mile wide. It's weird. You can see way off. You can see for miles. So about 10 miles east, 10 miles west of Rachel is what's called the back gate. And that's where you actually get like a checkpoint. So you'll actually see like the big arms that come down. There's actually chain link fencing, and there's a couple trailers. I've been there twice, and both times I've gone, I haven't seen anybody, but I guarantee you they knew I was there. They probably knew what my intentions were before I even set foot on the highway.
Oh yeah, they definitely saw you.
Oh yeah. I was trying to be a smart ass, and I drove up with my Uber stickers. I was just trying to be funny. Now, here's what people don't understand, is that from these gates, especially the back gate, because the back gate is like the furthest from Area 51, where I live, it's about 25 miles from Disneyland. 25 miles south of Disneyland. So what these sweaty Naruto runners need to keep in mind is that if I were to invite them all to my house, be okay, let's Naruto run to Disneyland. That's 25 miles of running to get to a destination. The only difference is you're Naruto running in the desert. I'm not saying it can't be done, but a lot of these kids aren't exactly in peak physical condition. So
Yeah, I really hope everyone's training for this because
yeah,
it's
so
gonna be
very intensive
necessary.
cardio. Bring plenty of water. Or what you can do is find a Kyle and just befriend a Kyle, and maybe he can piggyback ride you the entire way and just keep dangling like a Monster energy drink on like a line in the stick, just to dangle it in front of his head to keep him motivated. I mean, who knows?
It'll be the Kyles with the Naruto runners on their backs like Luke and Yoda.
Right. So instead of Naruto running, for a lot of you athletically challenged types, who I know are going to be showing up to this thing, befriend a Kyle. They will be your mounts. They will be your steed as you charge into Area 51. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, what if I'm one of the chubbier Naruto runners? I mean, anime lovers do come in all shapes and sizes, and some of them tend to be a little sweatier and chubbier than others. I have a solution for that. You find two Kyles, and they can do that thing where they kind of pick you up from one on each side and kind of have you, like, carry you as you run into the desert. It'll be like the deluxe Kyle way of transport.
Or maybe just throw him over the shoulder and just run with him like
idea.
parallel. Launching them like a missile into the gates. The fastball special.
God, I had a Kyle sit at my bar the other night, and he looked like a meme. He had the backwards hat, he had the chain, he had the cigarette in his ear, he had that greasy kind of drug pimpled face. I'm sure he was on something. I could tell what it was. Just absolute Kyle. And I was like, God, I hope you're there September 20th, buddy. There's going to be a Naruto runner who's
we're going to need you.
I mean, we all need to do our part. There is going to be a Naruto runner that shows up who, let's face it, forgot his inhaler. There needs to be a Kyle out there who'd be willing to give forth to the world and not just take from the world. Not bumming change off people, Kyles out there, for cigarettes and rockstar money. No, you need to get back to the world by finding this poor asthmatic anime lover and giving him a piggyback ride to Area 51, and the two of you can clap some cheeks together. I'm just saying, everybody needs to work together in order for this to happen.
It's gonna be like that Lord of the Rings meme. Like, I never thought I'd die fighting side by side with a Naruto runner. What about with a friend? I could do that.
And just know that while everybody's Naruto running, I'm be doing the Freakazoid run. At least when I do the Freakazoid run, at least I can go like Superman, and at least I'll feel vindicated at that point. But running like a forward-leaning anime, no, guys, that doesn't work for me. Now, what's everybody expecting on finding once they get there? Well, we're going to liberate some aliens, first off. We're pretty sure they don't want to be there. They probably just want to see sunlight again. Who knows? Apparently they're in a bunker in a mountain somewhere in S4, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that probably sucks. Just stuck there.
So, just remember, if you want to clap some alien cheeks, especially in this day and age, just make sure you don't meet some aliens. Make sure it's consensual. Make sure you bring some protection, because who knows what kind of space age you're going to get. I mean, Don't want to be like all War of the Worlds here, where you have these hostile alien forces come to Earth, and what ends up being their biggest demise is it's the common cold. So let's try to think this out a little bit. So guys, got to bag it before you tag it, okay? I don't care how sweet that green sphincter hole looks on the cheeks of the sweet alien booty. Let's make sure you wrap it before you tap it, okay? Don't want anything.
Not like Shatner in Star Trek, just smashing every alien he
Right.
sees.
It's just
The primary directive.
this big reinforced like steel door that just shuts, and you get a bunch of Chads and cows collectively punching the thing until it breaks through. You have all these scientists on the other end.
I can't believe it. It's supposed to be impenetrable.
One collective punch, the whole mountain just rumbles. Meanwhile, the scientists inside are just clenching onto each other in fear.
Oh man.
One punch, the lights flicker.
You see like water, like ripples in the water, like in Jurassic Park.
So what's funny is, I think you mentioned this, though I haven't seen it. Bob Lazar actually spoke out that guys really, really don't want to do this.
Yeah, yeah. He made a post on Instagram, I think it was, under his the account for his business. I think it's United Nuclear.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he was pretty adamant about people not doing this.
See, here's the thing. Let's just say 1 million people do show up. That is a staggering amount of people to have in one area. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, there's room for them because you're literally out in the middle of nowhere. It is a very in the middle of nowhere type place for a reason.
Right.
But would they really gun down everybody? So I'm thinking there has to be like deterrence or something. I don't think they just go straight for just spraying bullets at a bunch of autistic nerds. What I'm thinking is, I know they have forms of crowd control technology that are still in development, where they utilize like microwave guns, or essentially this park this big thing up on a hill with this weird satellite dish looking thing. They just point it at people and it fires microwaves at them.
Yeah.
It's like flame broiling people, but from the inside, like a baked potato.
You just see all the Kyles pull out a hot pocket out of their pocket, just bite into it to repower up. Yeah. They could also use like audio like tech, like high pitched like noises. So bring earmuffs, people.
Right. So they have this type of technology does exist. I've seen enough like science shows and whatnot to know. And I mean, they do talk about this stuff. Like, hey, we got this really neat microwave gun, for lack of a better term. They do have like ultrasonic deterrence. So instead of just spraying bullets at a bunch of idiots, which there might be that one overzealous camo dude who spent 20 years in the middle of the desert in a hot Ford truck, just farting up a storm with no real ventilation because you're in the heat. It's just you're just trapped in your own park gas and you can't really have the windows down because then they'll see your face and they can't see your face. So there'll be maybe 2 or 3 disgruntled camo dudes who might open fire on a couple passing autistics, but I think in general it'll be more of what I'm thinking. Well, they'll use like sonic type things or even like the microwave type things as a deterrent. And that's just the 25-mile run through the desert doesn't deter people enough. Which is why, if you are one of the Naruto running, aspiring Naruto runners with asthma or something, or maybe you're just physically out of shape. What you do, what I encourage you to do, is bring a case of Monster, Rockstar, Red Bull, whatever, and that'll be your contribution to the Kyle. It's like a mating ritual. You know how a penguin will bring a pebble to the female? Like, it'll be like that. Just
An
yours
offering.
brings a monster to a Kyle, and they're mated for life. You know what I picture? Remember that terrible Final Fantasy movie, the animated one that was kind of terrible?
Oh yeah.
So there's one scene, I can't find it on YouTube, and I don't really want to find the movie to watch it because it's awful. There's the black guy who is looking at this battlefield of just all these bodies and said, "Oh, this is supposed to be the war that saved the world. My father's out here somewhere." Just I picture like 20, 30 years from now, just that same scene, but with a kid standing over this graveyard in front of Area 51. There's all these corpses and just all these skeletons, and the one guy shows up and says, "Yeah, this is supposed to be the war that the battle that ended the war. Your father's out here somewhere." One can only dream. So, what have you heard, Adrian? What's our battle plan? I already told you my battle plan, which is essentially Magneto from the X-Men 3 movie, where you have the final battle and all these mutants are charging into battle, and Magneto says, "Up and chest the pawns go first."
Yeah, so I'm thinking we just choke the rivers with our dead. Just send wave after wave
Okay.
until until uh, until they're too tired. We just attack from all fronts. Just completely surround the base. Just like treat it like those civilization games.
Now, are we going in through the? So it makes more sense going through the Groom Lake Road. Groom Lake Road. Because if you go through the back gate, then you're already 25 miles even further out from where you need to be. So
Right.
Groom Lake Road is going to be the nexus point. That is the entry point. And plus, it's convenient because you have a road that'll take you right up to the base. So you won't have that potential of getting lost in the desert. So
I think everyone needs to invest in ATVs and just take those up and just drive through the desert, leading the charge with a flag with a gray on it.
Right. Or Frodo.
And we'll send a select group of a fellowship up through the mountains.
Now, here's another thing that you want to factor in, and guys, just hear me out. We will need some drone support. We do need our spies, like our scouts. Before any full frontal attack, there needs to be some reconnaissance done. So if you have a drone or something, now granted, it does say to not use drones anywhere near this place. That's fine. I mean, that's your own discretion, but some form of scouting would be beneficial in this sort of case. Also, I'm sure there'll be that one guy that shows up with a Segway or one of those weird bicycles that you pedal with your hands. I'm sure one of those people will show up.
Yeah.
You know those bikes that people are like down and they're pedaling with their arms. Like, what is this shit? This is Dr. Seuss looking contraption.
Yeah. We need everyone that owns an ATV to show up. Everyone that owns wagons that we can tie to the ATVs, sidecars, motorcycles, dirt bikes. A whole infantry of Kyles on dirt bikes. Bam Margera.
How many Winnebagos are going to come rolling in? Like Winnebagos from like 1978. Like the dude driving his had like a bench warrant from the 80s. Just Uh, apparently, it's gotten some celebrity support too. So
Yeah, and a bunch of companies are looking to throw a party outside the gates to celebrate.
the liberation.
Yeah, of at
So
least some technology.
what sort of technology do you hope to retrieve from Area 51? Like, what is, like, if you're to go in and have like the Men in Black style, like, room of toys, like in the first movie,
The
what
portal
would be
gun.
the toy that you'd want to take away?
The portal gun.
Portal gun?
Yep. Or
Okay.
some kind of time travel. Some time travel tech. A
So,
PlayStation 6.
what's the game plan? So, I want to be able to do my part. Like, we here at the Tyde podcast are like house exploring neglected institutions and structures, 10,000 TV. What could be our contribution to such an endeavor?
I think we fly out of there in Boba Fett's Slave One ship or something similar.
Okay.
We can just
I mean,
once we get in there, I'll try and I'll try and see if I could figure out what all the symbols mean, because I've been doing a lot of research on that kind of stuff, all that esoteric ancient knowledge. So I'll try and
right.
decipher the symbols and see if we can get some of these ships started, and we'll fly it out of there.
I'd love to get my hands on some of that 115, man.
Oh yeah, Element 115.
What I
Definitely gonna be leaving there with a belly full of that. Although
vomit.
115 we can eat.
So is the 115 stabilized or is it like super radioactive? Like, that's what I don't understand. Because usually something of that much power is unstable and has a really short like half life. So
Yeah, so allegedly the crafts that are there are powered by a stabilized version of it.
interesting. So you can just be there and you can walk around it, touch it, and it won't make you like Chernobyl sick.
I mean, I'm sure there's still some kind of like protection that you need, but yeah, it seems like it's like a in some kind of solid state, I guess.
Interesting. Now, you did come into town a couple weeks ago.
Right?
There was a UFO symposium in Irvine, which is right down the street from us, and actually minutes away from where I work. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go on the one day that I wanted to go. Just, some enlightenment took place, but um, share what happened. Like what symposiums did you see? Like what lectures? What did you learn?
Uh, yeah. So I went to a couple of lectures while I was there. One
How long were they?
about the UFO evidence out of Brazil, which apparently South America has a ton of sightings all the time, but Brazil specifically has a lot of cases that have been just as big as like the Roswell case that just haven't really gotten any kind of like mainstream like exposure or anything like that. And like cases that have had like lots of witnesses, and have been out there for a while. And I've heard about a couple of these before, but not a whole lot, just because it's not really something that you really think about. When you think like UFOs, like you think like Roswell, you think the United States, stuff like that. But I guess they've had a lot of cases, so they talked about some of those. They were kind of fascinating. They're actually doing a lot of work down there right now in terms of trying to get the government to talk about it and be open about it. And they've actually probably gotten a lot further than we have in the States as far as like uh, getting government cooperation. Like there are like organizations they're like working towards a disclosure that they're working directly with the government, and the government's essentially asking him, okay, what do you need from us? Like, how can we help? So that's pretty
Interesting.
cool. I also went to one that was super interesting. That was about uh, a similar kind of talk, but it was from a Russian guy. And what I thought was kind of funny was before the lecture started, like looking at his name, and I forget the dude's name, but it was totally like a non like Russian name. It was like a just like a normal like American name. Like there was no ethnicity behind it that you could discern just from looking at the name. And then he comes out and he starts talking, and he's got a heavy Russian accent. And then I'm like, okay, like so his parents just gave him an American name, and then I kind of realized likely what happened. As he was talking, he just started openly talking about all these like secret Russian bases and where everything is located. And it hit me that this guy probably can't go back to Russia. he
Yeah.
he's probably changed his name and is now living outside of Russia and just openly talking about this stuff. He's probably one of like Putin's like kill on sight guys. But his talk was really interesting too. I really liked his because he also talked about a lot of like ancient crash sites and like a lot of like the ancient past and how there may have been some UFO sightings back then. He showed some cave drawings and stuff like that. So that one was really cool as well. One of my favorite talks was actually not so much UFO related, but it was from this guy. I believe his name was Adam Curry. Pretty young dude. He's been working with incorporating consciousness into technology and just like a lot of. He's been doing a lot of work and research with regarding consciousness, and it was just kind of fascinating some of the experiments that he's done and some of the apps that he's developed that he's using to measure consciousness on a global scale, and just hearing some of the things that have been going on for a while that uh, like as far as measuring consciousness that I wasn't really aware of. There's a group that I want to say is called the global consciousness like initiative or something like that have been measuring it for a while, and there was actually a huge spike in overall consciousness across the United States the morning of 9/11 before the attacks happened. So it's almost like we were in tuned to something that was going to happen, and then obviously, something did. So it was kind of fascinating to hear him talk about things like that. And I also got my hands on some files that I need to pour through. Specifically, a lot of the Majestic files from MJ12, the group that was formed
Majestic
to
12.
the group that was formed to
Yeah.
research UFOs back in back in the day in the 40s or wherever.
Right.
But yeah, it
How
was
are they?
fun.
Interesting read.
Yeah. So while
That
we
was
were there, we actually
that was Eisenhower that came out. It was Eisenhower, right?
I,
No, it wasn't. It was who started Majestic? Which president was it?
oh I don't
Truman?
I think Eisenhower was the Secretary of State at the time, or he was in
I
the
think it was
cabinet. I
no, it was
think.
I think it was Truman
Hmm.
that came up with Majestic. I think. Pretty sure it was Truman. I don't know. Hey, that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So
So
while I
were
was
there?
there, we We ended up watching that Bob Lazar documentary. So what'd you think of it?
But it was interesting. I always take everything with a grain of salt, but I mean, there's more than us out there. It's mathematically improbable that we are the only ones in such a big universe. So if we happen to get our hands on something, I'm not surprised. But the the level of secrecy involved is just kind of annoying because we can move so much quicker towards like a Star Trek type society where it's just unification of everybody. There's no more discrimination or hate or race wars or everything, anything like that. It'd be like a very Gene Roddenberry type uh, future instead of just where we're heading right now, where the planet's going to boil off in 10 years. So,
Yeah,
I mean, at this point, what do we have to lose? Mass hysteria? Shit.
right.
We have shootings every other day here in America. Well, how much worse could it possibly get?
Yeah,
I mean, for the maybe for the few years where a lot of nut job religious types might be, oh my God, we wasted all their time and effort. There's all this stuff isn't true. Yeah, this is great. Handle that as you may, but again, it's about the future at this point. So at some point, guys, just, come on. How bad can it really be?
yeah, yeah. That's definitely probably one of the most frustrating things about it. That like, if all of this is true, and we have this technology that we can be using to essentially save our planet, and we're just keeping it
Right.
under
And that's
wraps.
the thing. It's like we have all this. If we allegedly have all of this technology that
Free
capable of things
energy
that
technology.
we can't even wrap our heads around. Yeah, here's an asshole in Saudi Arabia with his billions of dollars in riches because of oil. It's like, really? You have a couple, have this sliver of this element that could, revolutionize how we travel and use energy, yet we're spending to some fossil fuel jackass who only cares about the money, doesn't give a fuck about what goes on with our planet. Come on, guys. Just turn some of the alien juju that you have and then make something good out of it. And that's what's frustrating about it. If we do indeed have this shit, like what? Who gives a shit about the fallout? It'll be good in the long run.
Right.
I mean, God, we found out there was no Santa. Did we commit mass suicide? No. It's like, oh, okay, but we're still getting presents, right? Well, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Reason my
So
religion was fake, but there's really cool, like, Star Wars shit out there. Yeah. Oh, dude, that's cool.
yeah, I want to be running around with fucking lightsabers and shit.
I mean, it's like, wait, you mean I've been avoiding pork all this time? It didn't really matter? Oh, dude. My
you know,
God. So, that's my thought process on it. But we live in such a fucked up world. We really do.
right.
You have over 90% of the world wants like stricter gun control, and yet in our democracy, you have one asshole in Washington who's like, no, I don't want to do that. It's entirely up to like a small handful of people, not the majority that they represent. It's all fucked up. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah,
to
it
go on like
sucks.
that's like an anti-government diatribe. That's really what my intentions are. It's just, come on, guys.
Get your shit together.
It's like in South Park.
Save our planet.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? That's my takeaway from everything that's going on. Just really?
Like, is this real life? You know,
Come on, say that again.
oh, I was just saying, is this real life? But so one of the things that I thought was kind of fascinating when we were watching that documentary was your reaction to. when Bob was talking about the test flights and where they would fly these things, because it kind of matched up with an experience that you had driving back from
Oh,
Area 51.
yeah. So, and I'm watching this. When I first went in, I've explained this I told this story on the show before, but it kind of connected when Bob Lazar, of all the things I saw on the show, I couldn't relate on this documentary. I couldn't relate to any of it except for one thing that he said, and it's about halfway through. I forget the timestamp, but he was talking about the test flights of these things, and he said, "Okay, well, on certain days we keep them in the hangar and just kind of do like a side to side, up and down type thing. Every once in a while, we take them out and we fly them just above the peaks of the mountains." Now that right there was what triggered me when he said, "Oh, we fly them just above the peaks of the mountains." So, almost been 2 years now. It's 2 Novembers from now. It's not this past November, but the previous November. Um, Girlfriend and I went out to Vegas and drove out to Area 51, ate at the Little Alien, and we drove to the back gate, and we left. We got back onto the main highway at about 10 o'clock-ish, 10:30-ish. So we're driving now south down a very dark and lonely highway. And from our position, the base would have been at like our 1 o'clock position, 1 o'clock position, and it was in that general area. And I told my girlfriend, "Hey, you know what? If we see anything, or if we want to see anything, look over in that direction because that's where the base is." And she's like, "Oh, okay. So we're driving, maybe 10, 15 minutes goes by. And, I wander. I'm kind of trying to keep an eye on the roads because there's all over the range out there, and there's big cows that are out there. And if you're going 80 down the dark highway,
Yeah.
and there's a big, dumb black cow in the middle of the road, you're not going to see it until it's too late. And if you hit a big cow with your car, you're totaled. It's done. So I'm being mindful of that, and I'm still driving pretty quick. And just above the mountain range of where I said the base would be, I see this very bright light. And the only way I can describe this, if you were to take your hand and kind of shape it like a Lego man, kind of like a J, kind of, or like a lobster claw, like a claw hand, where it kind of looks like a J. That was the shape of this thing. And, you're used to thinking, okay, of big ovals or the triangles or whatnot, or the spheres, or even just like a basic saucer type shape. That wasn't what this thing was. It looked like a weird J, brightly lit J. And what struck me at first was, holy crap, from where I am on this road to where the base is, and this mountain range is maybe 30 miles. So I would say the size of it, if you were to take a quarter in your hand and just hold the quarter up at like an arm's length, that's how big this thing was. Just from my perspective. So this thing was big. And I look at it and I see it, and my brain starts thinking like, oh my God, is this really happening? Like, am I really seeing this? And then I'm like, oh my God, I start trying to get Yvette's attention, like, oh, babe, oh my God, look. She goes, what? Just, what's going on? I pulled the car over, and the moment I pulled the car over, this light, like, illuminated. It's like somebody took a dimmer switch and just dimmed it down, and it was gone.
Huh.
I probably saw this thing for maybe 5 seconds. Maybe
That's pretty crazy.
maybe less than, it definitely wasn't 10 seconds, but it was definitely around 5-ish seconds where I saw this thing. And I've always said, and I even drew a little doodle of it, it was just above the mountain range. So when we're watching this documentary, and Bob Lazar said, oh, one of the kind of test flights that we would do is take this one of these things and just fly just above the mountain range, and like, oh my God, I saw that. Whatever it was they were doing, whatever test this was, Bob Lazar explained that. That there gives me like personal credibility towards this guy's story, because it's such an odd detail to say. It's a really odd detail, and I saw it. This thing was just above the mountain range. It was really bright, very, very bright. But again, the size of this thing must have been huge, because from the 30 plus miles that I was from where this anomaly was, again, if you were to take a quarter and hold it up, that's how big it looked to me. So up close, it was probably massive how big this thing was. I have no idea what it was, nor the shape of it was just bizarre. It was a bizarre looking shape. So that was my big takeaway from the Bob Lazar documentary on Netflix.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting how that ended up matching up with what you had seen before.
So really interesting. So yeah, it was so I do have some. I have an Area 51 story. Hey, cool. And of course, if you go to Rachel, which is the town, I'm using town in air quotes here because they had a couple trailers and the diner that'll give you diarrhea.
I got diarrhea at Area 51.
The UFO burger.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a tourist trap. They do have a lot of stories. You can tell they kind of fan the flame of that tourist intrigue. I know somebody who lives on the south end of the facility, and he said that he's never seen any UFOs. He's actually kind of disappointed because him and I used to listen to Art Bell back in the day. He has never seen a UFO, and he says he goes out almost every night and looks up to the sky and hasn't seen a damn thing. He apparently knows some people who work at parts of the facility, and they said that, I mean, everything is so compartmentalized over there. I don't think any more than like a small handful of people in a group know what the other group is doing. But this particular individual said, yeah, I haven't seen any aliens, but I'm working on this type of thing. And it was just sort of like a mundane type thing. Like, okay, cool. Advanced radar, cool. Okay, neat. That's nothing like scary or jarring or anything. It's okay, they're doing radar stuff out there. At least this particular guy is doing radar stuff. Okay, neat. It's not nearly as fascinating as, like aliens or whatnot, but you never know how compartmentalized everything is. If one ties into the other, ties into the other, ties into the other.
Right. And that is one of the things that Bob said during the documentary about how compartmentalized everything was, and how he was only working on the propulsion aspect of it, but he didn't know what the weapons application or where these things came from or anything like that, because those were other departments and they didn't share information in between, which also kind of made it harder to kind of backwards engineer this stuff, since they couldn't talk to the other departments and didn't know if they were onto something that they hadn't discovered yet that could potentially help them, or if they had anything that could help the other teams.
Right. Now, I will tell you interesting. I mean, not really interesting, but just one of those things. Everybody's heard of the bus, the employee bus for Area 51. When I was the day that I drove out there with my girlfriend and I saw this anomaly over the mountain, while we were driving there, the bus actually did pass us. And this thing looks like an old school bus, but this thing has horsepower in it that you can't even imagine. Like, this thing can crank 90 up a mountain.
Wow.
That's pretty nuts.
What did the windows look like? Were they like blacked out or like tinted?
I got a video of it. Just a quick video. This thing just barreled right through us. or right past us. It was just crazy how fast this thing went up a mountain for being a school bus.
Could you see? Could you see into the windows, or were they all like tinted or blacked out?
They're all tinted over. And
Yeah.
at this time, it was already because this was late November, so it was getting dark pretty early.
Right.
And I'd say this was about 7:00, 7:30 ish. I want to say so. It was already duskish. Actually, it was that moment between dusk and evening. This thing came finally barreling towards us. It was neat because I'd never seen it before. I mean, I'd seen it on like YouTube and whatnot, but actually seeing it in person, like, oh, neat. I think it makes a stop. I forget the name of the town, but there's a little town that's on the way to an extraterrestrial highway before you make that left turn. That is kind of like a gas and go type town. And if you want to go to a Peekaboo, that's the town that you drive through to get to Peekaboo. That's where apparently it drops off its employees. And there's a YouTuber that I'm subscribed to, Adventures with Christian. He said that for years he would just wave to the driver, and the driver wouldn't acknowledge him. And he finally got, after being persistent, he actually got the bus driver for Area 51 to just do a little wave at him now every time he waves to the guy. That's interesting.
That's funny.
A neat little thing.
Yeah, little victories. Now that bus driver's probably gonna get killed based on this this podcast. He's been compromised.
Right. You see him bite his tooth. It's like a cyanide pill.
Yeah.
Compromised. Foaming from the mouth.
Like a KGB agent.
What else is there? That's all I really got to say about Area 51. We're coming up on almost an hour. Anything else you want to finish up on?
Well, there was also the Rogan document or the Rogan podcast that we watched after the documentary. That was also interesting, where he had Bob and Jeremy Corbell on. So I highly recommend checking that out. And if you guys haven't seen it yet, the documentary that we're talking about is on Netflix. It's called Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers. Highly recommend checking it out. Very fascinating stuff. But during the Rogan podcast, one of the things that kind of blew my mind was when they were talking about all these ships, these UFOs that they had there, and Bob had mentioned that they have 9 of them, and Joe Rogan was asking him about do we know where they came from, and Bob's response was it was never something that was discussed with him. It wasn't something that he would have asked, like, because you weren't allowed to ask questions. But he said that it was heavily implied, or he was led to believe at least, that at least one of these was found in an archaeological dig. And that kind of blew my mind, because it's like, how fucking old is this thing? If we found it at a dig site, like looking for some fucking dinosaurs or something, and we find a UFO, like, holy shit. So that was pretty crazy.
Hey, here's what's weird about UFOs. So they just went up on an archaeological thing. One crashed in about it. They all fucking look the same. Like, you think with like hundreds of years, like, hey, come out with a new model. Like,
well, apparently Bob did say that these all looked different.
Like interstellar travel, that they don't feel the need to upgrade. Like, what's up with that?
Well, Bob did say that they all did look different. They were like of different shapes and stuff, and different kinds of models.
Okay.
It wasn't quite like in Independence Day.
The one that they dug up in the on an archaeological survey because they tell that, oh, this is clearly an older model versus this one. That's like the
Yeah,
2010 model.
I wonder what it
Baseline.
looked
There has
like.
to be some characteristic differences between the two.
Yeah.
I mean, they can all function the same as far as like all cars work the same with combustion engine and whatnot. Just all cars work the same, but they have different accessories to them. I'm wondering if out of the 9 UFOs, if they're like different models of cars, where they all might run the same, but maybe one has a AM/FM radio or a
Yeah.
Sirius satellite and a cup holder.
And
Maybe
then
one has reclining leather seats. Who knows? But there has to be some form of difference, especially one that is apparently ancient versus
something from
the
the
newer stuff
40s.
that they have.
Yeah. It's assuming that like time works the same for them as it does for us though. Cuz who knows, like maybe they're from the same period but just showing up in different points of our like
Yeah.
history. Um so that could always be a thing. And another thing that was interesting was how he talked about how these things actually flew. Like they kind of they kind of fly like belly first. Um, and they like bend the space around them.
Well, it's like from Futurama.
Yeah,
I think you're the one that said, right, where
right.
the ship doesn't fly itself, the space around it moves around the ship.
Yeah. Like that episode, I forget what episode it was, but it was like Farnsworth Jr., like
I've seen
the
the
little
episode.
clone.
I know the episode. I just can't remember the details of it other than that, because that was like the whole thing that the episode built up to.
Yeah, and like that is probably like the easiest way to think about how it works. Like based on what Bob Lazar was saying, like that was the first thing that came to mind where they were trying to pilot the Planet Express and they couldn't make it run, but instead of making it run, they made everything around it move with the black matter, the antimatter, or whatever that they had.
Hmm.
So yeah, interesting shit. Hopefully, it really does seem like we're moving towards some kind of disclosure. They're talking about it more on TV. It seems like the government's letting more things out. Um, there's all more shows on it now. You've got these documentaries. More people seem interested in it now than ever. So I guess it's a positive thing. Hopefully it does end up being a good thing, and it's not just something that the government's doing just to distract us or set us up for something else. Because if you're familiar with one of the things that what's his name, fucking Werner von Braun, one of the guys that was brought over from the Nazi Party and brought over into our to essentially start NASA. One of the things that he said was, um, in terms of how the government was going to operate, uh, they always, pick someone to start a war with. And first it was going to be the Nazis. Like, always pick someone to be in war with. And he said first it was going to be the Nazis, then it was going to be the communists, then it would be terrorists, and then it would be aliens, and that it would be not real aliens, but something that we were faking to make it look like aliens were invading, and we needed to spend all this money on weapons to defend ourselves and everything like that. And when when he was asked to like why did he think that, his response was because that's what we were gonna do. That was what the Nazis' plan was, to eventually fake some kind of holographic alien like attack.
Interesting.
So
Well,
hopefully that's not what's happening here, and it's all legit, and
yeah.
maybe we find out the
Uh,
truth.
so are we officially in season 2? What day are we gonna be airing our episodes? I'm free Thursday.
Yeah, we can start. Actually, we're probably gonna need to be recording on the weekends. Still, just because I am teaching every night as well now, so that kind of blasts my weekdays. But but yeah,
I I,
we'll
I do need to get ready for work, so
yeah, we're at the end of this one, so
yeah, we're at that good episode.
so
Um,
it was definitely fun. It was a good way to kick off the season, and we do still have our good friends over at Infinite CBD. Um, they have a ton of cool products. They've just come up with a lot of new stuff for pets. So if you've ever been interested in trying some of that, I know I got some specific CBD oil for pets for my dog back home in California that I gave to my parents while I was there. So they're using that on him, on his on his skin because he does have a little bit of a
nice.
skin condition. So they have a lot. They have a lot of stuff like that, and obviously they have tons of stuff for humans. So if you guys are interested, go ahead and check them out. InfiniteCBD.com and use our promo code Tyde10, and you'll get 10% off. Hopefully, we'll have some more stuff of theirs to talk about this season. We've got a lot of great episodes coming up. A lot of really interesting subjects that we're going to tackle, and hopefully, we'll get some more guests going this season. But but yeah, I think we're gonna finish this episode off. So I've been Adrian.
It's just Dave, and I don't know, swallow the pod.
Yeah. Swallow the pod. Keep watching the skis, everyone.
Watch and ski and swallow the pod.